Also, I was talking about babies earlier, and when they babble, there's a study going on now that if you, many cases, when you play that babbling backwards, it makes perfect sense in English or whatever language the person is growing up in. Um, yeah, and because, again, remember, they're coming from spirit. Many kids on these TV shows on LMN have been so damnable right, and the location and the name of the guy and exactly what they were doing, and these kids are 6. How do they know this stuff? This one kid knew he was on a Corsair off the Asia Pacific. He went down in this area, and he knew the pilot's sister, who is about 70 now, and they went and visited her, and he called her by her nickname. No one told him what it was. So there's a connection. I have to believe that souls regenerate. I don't know how that happens. I don't know where they go. Do all of them regenerate? I don't know. But it's food for thought. And maybe these souls are hanging around because they didn't entirely get the message what they needed to do, and they have one last quick lesson to learn, and then they're on their way. Do you somehow correlate with what I'm saying?
Yeah. The thing with kids is that when they come here, when we all come here, they still have a imprint of where they were. So because they still have that imprint of where they were, some of that still can come out. For instance, if you put a child under a light, a bright light, they will most often smile because they think that they are home. That I've had parents tell me that they have children who are fussy, and they put them under a bright light, and the children have all of a sudden smiled and stopped crying. So it could be that they're thinking that they're home. The energy is so heavy here when they come here. I think they carry that for a while. And then once they get used to it, of course, children are more prone to see spirits than adults are, because we're taught through other people and through impressions and whatever that we're not supposed to see them. Like my parents were like, "No, you don't see that. Please don't see that."
Yeah.
But my grandmother, luckily, was like, "Yes, you see that. That's fine. It's okay." So I think we teach children not to see things. I know of one little boy who kept seeing, this cowman. He kept saying, "I see a cowman, I see a cowman," and he was scared to death of a cowman. We didn't understand what that was. Later, in the basement of the house, they found a picture of a cowboy who originally owned the house. He was actually the builder, which was funny because it's the same sort of cowman that was seen here. So I don't know if this little boy is being followed by this cowman or not, whose name now we know is Jim. I don't know if it's the same one. But, yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's an entity, and I think children over time are taught to, and their environment kind of poo-poos it, and I think they pick up on it and internally or subconsciously shut that off.
Yeah.
And in order to get that back again, you have to go through a process. I know I don't have any of those abilities. Every medium says all people could do it. It takes some work, but maybe you can tell me what kind of work it is. I don't know if I want that skill. It can be a blessing and a curse. But I do know that the spirit continues to go on. First of all, in the religions, for those of you people who don't believe in this at all, then why the hell do you say, oh, the soul went to heaven or hell? You said some entity left. Some entity left the body and went somewhere. So, these entities, I believe, can get recycled. A lot of the kids on these shows said, I picked who I was going to go into and dropped down on a line, went right into her head. And that was usually right at conception. And they became that baby. Why they picked it, I don't know. The great thing about the Bible is there's a lot of correlation, and I think it's in Ephesians or Ezekiel where it says you will not remember the former. And we don't, do we?
Don't we? And things that we automatically like and things that we automatically hate, and we don't have a reason for hating something. And people, the theory is that people think that that's a past life that we're remembering. For instance, I went to a past life regressionist, and they told me that I had went through a horrendous ordeal with my brother who had passed, and he had died in deep water. And so I had a fear of deep water. And I have no reason to have a fear of deep water. So I'm not afraid to swim. I'm not afraid to go in pools. I don't mind going out on a lake or go fishing, but we get into deep water and I start getting anxious. So, is that a past life? Is that a memory? Part of what I held on to?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that I don't have anything specific, but whenever I see anything on the internet or on TV around the medieval times, early medieval times, roughly 400 or 500 AD in Western Europe, I just have this affinity. Boy, I would love to be there again. And I use the word again as if I was there.
Right.
But whenever I see that, my heart pounds, and I see people playing the parts of it, and I go, I just know I was in love with one of those girls. I just know it. And I just have the affinity. I don't know, and I don't care. But sometimes that begs the question, how long does spirit stay spirit before it has the human experience again?
I've had some that have been reborn or told me that they were going to be reborn fairly soon after they passed, within a couple of years. Other ones I've had, in fact, I just had a lady who, and I don't even remember who it was, she wanted a reading, and I gave it to her, and her, I believe, daughter came through and said, I'm being reborn. I won't be coming to visit as often. And which makes me think that we might keep a part of our soul self stationary in the fourth dimension, and then a sliver or piece of us is what's reborn.
I totally agree with that. I do believe, because the spirit can be, it doesn't, we can't describe it in the physical world. I've always used the example, if you had a table in front of you and you put your hand through it, just take your hand and just start going down. Let's say that table represented a 2D world. You can go forward, backwards, and sideways, but you can't go up and down. And on that table we call flatland. And if you take your hand and you were able to go through it, all they would see is a cross-section of your hand. And if someone was around that hand at that time, they'd go, oh my God, an apparition. And they would run back to tell the rest of the people, we saw this disc-like thing appear out of nowhere and then disappeared. And then the rest of the flat people would ask it, well, where did it come from? And the poor guy doesn't know up and down, so he says, well, I don't know. And he can't say up and down because they don't understand it, and that's the penalty for being in the second dimension. Like we have the penalty for being in the third, to not understand the physics of the soul and where it resides there. But I've heard it in many cases that the soul can split off in various places and dimensions depending on its evolvement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. I don't know. I don't know how many times we come back, or if because for some reason we don't remember a lot of it. We might have how you have an automatic like towards somebody, or you have an automatic I know, this person, and you've never met before. I do believe that our people in our life, and the people that are put in our life throughout our lifetime, are people that were in our life before. I think they try to keep us with familiar people, and different people at the same time, so that we get new experiences, but we also have people who are familiar and who make us feel good here, make us feel, grounded while we're here, which is really important.
I think that's.
When we came here, we'd go nuts.
I think that's some of it, but I probably would disagree on that one point with you. I think it's a mixture of different times, different places, stripped of the former, and then we come here with different affinities. I knew when I was a little boy in the backseat of a car driving to the store, I realized looking out the side of the road how dirty it was. What kind of world do we live in? And I don't know where I got that from, but I kind of remembered where I was. There was none of this. It was all beautiful, and it's not like this. And I don't know where a 4 or 6-year-old starts thinking that way, but I remember just staring at it and wondering where this place I am at now is so dirty. I don't know why. I don't know why I thought that.
Well, it definitely is. This is one of the most negative planets that there are.
It is, and I think it's more of a learning place, and I think this is one of the schools of learning. And damn it, people, if you just understood that you all believe in something, in a higher power, and they talk about angels and spirits and demons and so forth in biblical scripture, and this is by no means a biblical scripture show, but I'm just saying, you believe in that, why not believe in this when we see the actual proof? We are out there, and I've seen things. I have seen spirit. I've seen spirit manifest. And now I'm not afraid of it.
I think one thing is that people can talk themselves out of or into anything. And I've seen it happen. If we have one person that sees something on a ghost hunt, all the others will see it. Or if they hear something, everybody else hears it. And the thing is if you open your mind up, you can either choose to not see what everybody else sees because of your beliefs, your background, what you want to, like you're afraid of it and you don't want to open your eyes to it. Or you can think outside the box and look at things and say, I really see that, or I really hear that, and accept it for what it is, and then start looking at things differently. Some people don't want to see things differently.
And that's too bad, because this world could be a wonderful place. Christ said that, approach the world as a little child and be open to everything, question everything. And when I got into I hate to say this business, but when I got into the paranormal, anything can happen because it's outside of all the laws of our physics, our science, and what we've come to know. So when I used to go on investigations, I would, go into it like anything can appear and say anything it wants. But now I'm a believer that the spirit does go. Its ultimate goal is to learn, to process, to go through the valleys and then the highs. And I know in my life right now, mostly the purpose from checking out on July 4th in 2013. I got an idea